Andy Johnson. We are looking at writing a literature review or any academic writing for that matter. And we are looking at the draft. We did the pre-draft in a previous video. This one looks at just the draft. Now remember, academic writing is different from creative writing. It is concise, moving ideas from point A to point B in the most efficient and effective manner possible. It's objective, meaning you want to let the ideas speak, not you. We don't care what you have to say. We care what the ideas have to say. It's a review of the literature, not a review of what you think. And the goal is to transmit these ideas as effectively as possible. From point A, your head, to point B, out into the world. That's what academic writing is. Very few adjectives, very few personal pronouns. We are not trying to create an emotional reaction or an aesthetic response. Now, academic writing is not that complicated. As a matter of fact, it is incredibly easy if you follow the steps. If you skip steps, then it becomes a little hard. So we are looking at steps 3 and steps 4 today, writing the first draft. First draft and revising. All right? So let's take a look. But first of all, and I'm going to repeat this idea several times, you cannot create high quality writing if you're not willing to first create garbage. And your first draft should be garbage. You're trying to get the ideas on the paper. If you try to get it just right, the writing thing is going to be all squeezed and you won't be able to write. So allow yourself to write garbage. That is the goal. So this video is focusing on the garbage step, the first step, and then the revising step, which is shaping the clay on the potter's wheel. And as I'll say, revising is the heart of the writing process. I'll say that in just a minute. An extremely rough first draft. That's your goal. Again, extremely rough. But you should have your notes organized into groups so you can kind of see the headings and the subheadings or the main ideas. Those groups that you had your notes in, and we talked about that in a previous video, that is an extremely flexible organizing structure for that first draft, meaning those would become the headings and the subheadings. But note, as you write, as ideas emerge, these categories, these headings and subheadings will be changing, will be evolving as you write. So extremely flexible, extremely flexible. The draft is like throwing that big blob of clay on the potter's wheel. It's not a finished pot, it's a blob of clay. And that's what you're trying to do, is take that big blob of clay, get all your ideas on the page. Don't think too much, don't think too hard. Even if what you're writing doesn't make sense, even if your sentences seem to repeat each other, get the ideas on the page. And I have to remind that myself as well. I've been writing for 25 years. And when I try to write just right the first time, that's when I stymie the whole process. You cannot write well if you're not willing to first write poorly. Let the bad ideas come, because bad ideas sometimes connect to other ideas, to good ideas, to associations. Get the ideas on the page. In writing, you are embracing contraries, as Peter Elbow said in a book long ago. You're embracing two kinds of thinking. You're generating ideas and you're evaluating ideas. You're using creative and critical thinking, convergent and divergent thinking, but you can't do them both at the same time. You have to generate ideas first. You have to get that blob of clay on the pot, and then you can begin to analyze, to evaluate, to shape, to move things around. Revision is step 4. It comes later. That's where you polish. That's where you revise. That's where you throw ideas out. That's where you move things around. That will be the heart of the writing process. Now, some people prefer to have their first drafts handwritten. I sometimes use this myself instead of on the computer. Use the strategy that works best for you. There's no single strategy that works best for all people all the time. So let's take a look at the revision process. You've got your garbage, it's on the page, you've done step 3. Now we'll do step 4. This is the heart of the academic writing process. You are revisiting, re-seeing, reviewing many times, many visits. During the process, you will need to make many visits back to your writing. Revise. This is the heart of the academic writing process. You must start with a poorly written draft. Now, this works best from whole to part to whole. The whole is that poorly written first draft. And here's some examples of poorly written first drafts that I have. I like to use color codes to denote the headings and the subheadings. That just makes it a little easier for me to see the structure of what I'm writing. But start with that poorly written first draft. That's the whole. Now we're going to go down to the parts. So here are the steps for revision. This is exactly how you do it. You've got your whole thing there. You've got your first draft. Revision starts with the first sentence. Focus only on the first sentence. Make sure that sentence makes sense, that you're using as few words as possible, and that it's concise. Take out any words that do not absolutely need to be there. And again, when you're looking at each sentence, take out words that do not absolutely have to be there. When that sentence is as concise as possible and coherent, then go to the next sentence, and then the next, and then the next. So you're focusing just on each sentence, one sentence at a time. Then you can begin to focus on the paragraph. Focus just on that single paragraph. Make sure it says exactly what you want it to say, that you don't repeat ideas. Take out any sentences that do not need to be there. Make sure it's concise and accurate. There's no repetition. Reread the paragraph many times. Sometimes it's helpful to read it out loud. I always use the program on my computer that reads it out loud for me. It's on the Word program. You can find them online. It reads your text and you get a better sense of it. When that paragraph is exactly as you want it, move on to the next paragraph and repeat the process. First sentence, next sentence, whole paragraph. Then begin to look at the section. Reread, review, revise just that section. Make sure it reads like melted butter. It just flows off the page. Remove any paragraphs that don't need to be there. And again, look for sentences or words that do not need to be there. Make sure one paragraph flows into the next. Use transition words and sentences so that one paragraph flows into the next, and that's in chapter 13. Use headings and subheadings to make sure you can see the structure. When that section is finished, then go on to the next section and start again with sentence, paragraph, sentence, paragraph, sentence, paragraph. All right, go to the next section. Then use this process with the complete paper, looking at sentence, paragraph, section, sentence, paragraph, section. The goal is melted butter. Good academic writing reads like melted butter. It flows off the page. You cannot help but understand what the writer is trying to say. You don't have to pause or reread or figure out an awkward sentence or sudden shifts in subject matter. Melted butter should be the goal of revising. And the melted butter steps again. You must have your draft, focus on each sentence, clear, concise, objective. Focus on the paragraph, Concise, accurate, no repetition, no extra ideas or words. Focus on the section, concise transitions, melted butter, then focus on the complete paper. And again, these are the steps for academic writing. Research to gather data, your pre-draft. We looked at first draft and revising. In the next videos, we will be looking at editing and sharing. Last word, revision is at the heart of the academic writing process. Anyone can be a good academic writer. Effective academic writers are simply those writers who revise a lot. Ineffective academic writers are writers who do not revise.